It's April, back once again to answer all your immigration questions. So let's just hop right in with question 1. So first we have, what is an EAD? Can I work without an EAD? So an EAD, it stands for Employment Authorization Document. This is more commonly referred to as a work permit. You use Form I-765 in order to apply for an EAD, but you have to be in a category that qualifies you for one, such as having a pending asylum application. Can you work without one? Well, it's against the law to work without proper authorization, but there are some immigration procedures that allow you to be forgiven for working without authorization. So, for example, if you have a U.S. citizen who is filing a petition for you that is a spouse, you will be forgiven for working without authorization. That is completely different from presenting yourself as a resident or citizen. If you present to an employer false documents, or if you tell them that you are a resident or citizen with authorization to work when you do not have authorization, that's a completely different issue. I don't want you to do that and get into any trouble. Question number 2. This one's a little bit long. My U.S. citizen husband petitioned for me last year. I am living out of the country and I am now pregnant. What do we do? All right. So since the pregnancy occurred after the marriage, the child is eligible for derivative citizenship through their U.S. citizen father. So what you're going to do is request CRBA. It is Consular Report of Birth Abroad. Once the CRBA is granted, then your child will be able to get a U.S. passport. All right, so again, that's a CRBA, a Consular Report of Child Abroad, which will also allow the child to obtain a U.S. citizen passport. If the marriage had not occurred before the pregnancy, then the steps would be different and you would need to schedule a consultation with an immigration attorney to determine the exact procedures at that point. If the parent had been a resident as opposed to a citizen, that's also a different process. So you would need to have a consultation to discuss that as well. All right, we're moving on to question number 3. So, USCIS canceled my citizenship interview. What does that mean? Will I be denied? Don't get yourself too worked up over this. Remember, USCIS is run by people, not computers. Sometimes they have staffing issues. Sometimes your A file was not transferred to the location where the interview is going to take place, and so they have to reschedule it. Most likely this cancellation has nothing to do with you, and it has to do with their own internal procedures or issues that they're having. If they advised you of a time when it's going to be rescheduled, then you just wait for that time. If not, you just wait 60 days, and if it hasn't been rescheduled at that point, you can reach out and request an info pass or make a service request regarding that. But don't be alarmed. Don't assume it has anything to do with you. It's most likely their own internal staffing issues. Question number 4. I am having trouble finding a joint sponsor. Are there any agencies that help with this? So this person is referring to applications. Usually it's a sponsorship, like a spousal visa, family preference visa that requires the petitioner to prove that they make a certain amount of income as determined by the IRS poverty guidelines as a part of their application to bring their family member or spouse to the United States. Unfortunately, you have to find a family member or friend that's willing to do this. Agencies are not able to take on this responsibility. It has to be a contract between the U.S. government and an individual. So your options are going to be pretty limited here if you don't have a family member or friend who's willing to take that on. Your petitioner can try to obtain a higher paying job or take on a second job to meet the IRS poverty guidelines for sponsorship. Those options are pretty limited. they have to be able to show that. Question 5, and the last question for today. Remember, you can send your immigration questions to Holloway Legal on Instagram or Facebook at Holloway Legal DMV to have your questions answered. If you have a private personal matter, you will want to schedule a private consultation, which you can do by calling 202-699-6545, or you can use the Calendly link, which is in the description below. So let's get to question number 5. My job is offering to sponsor me, but I have a pending asylum claim. Can I get an employment visa? Well, this depends. If you are already in the United States and you're looking to apply for an employment-style visa, you have to be in status. You can't have any unlawful presence in the United States. So if you applied for asylum, that's indicating to me that you don't actually have lawful status in the U.S. Remember, asylum gives you permission to remain in the United States, but it does not convey to you lawful status, like being a resident or J1 or in a valid B status visitor visa. So unfortunately, you might be in a situation where you're not going to be able to pursue an employment visa if you're in the U.S. on a pending asylum case. But I would encourage you that if you have some special circumstances or a special situation, to schedule an individual private consultation in order to review whether or not there are some options available to you that my general answer is not referring to. Also, you want to remember that immigration policies do change quite often. So if you're listening to this video for immigration advice, just keep in mind the date that it was prepared and that things could change in the future. Thank you so much. Have a great day.